Guys, today is the day. You ask for it and I will watch it. The video from Ali Abdaal where he says, I tried 137 productivity tools. These are the best. And I'm happy to give my opinion on these tools. Let's see if I actually used any of these. I didn't watch the video before, so this will be a complete new experience for me going through this. But I cannot wait to see all the different tools and see how far I get with my knowledge about these tools. Let's get started.
So over the last 15 years, I've tried an enormous number of productivity apps and tools and tech. But in this video, I'm gonna save you the time and money of having to test all of these yourself. And I'm gonna share what I think are the best apps and tools and tech that I actually use every day to stay productive. So the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is that I go to the bathroom, I do a little wee, and then I weigh myself on my
There we go, within smart scales. I got one as well, actually the latest version, the body scale. And I love them. I'm using them since 2015. So this would be then 7 years in a row. And I had several versions of these, but I love collecting data and seeing all the weight that I gained during COVID. But yeah, I love them. I also got the blood pressure thing. I also got the thermometer and all the stuff. So Withings is awesome. They changed to Nokia at some point, and this was starting to really go downhill. They bought it back, or they actually changed it back to Withings, which was such a relief. I really love these things. This app is amazing. It gives you so many insights. It seamlessly integrates with your Apple Health. It's amazing. So I can 100% relate to this and give it a thumbs up.
These are great because they're Wi-Fi enabled and they sync with Apple Health Kit, which means I can track how my weight changes over time, and this is just incredibly useful. It's like what they say, what gets measured gets managed. Then I'll have a shower and change and stuff. Next, I make myself a cup of coffee using a particular tech item called the Clever Dripper, which is a very nice way to make filter coffee. And then I use one of my favorite...
Okay, no idea about the Clever Dripper. We have a coffee machine, actually. Well, I need the whole treatment there.
Favorite productivity tools of all time, which is a physical pen and paper journal. And what I do in this journal is something called morning pages, which is a technique from...
Okay, paper journal. I got a paper journal, but this is something that I have since, man, it's more than 20 years that I have this book. And it is a book that I found from my grandpa. There was nothing in there but the year written down, 1967. That was the only thing that was written down in this book. In this journal. Well, and he was no longer alive. I got this book and I started writing down some key moments in my life. So whenever something really impactful happens, good or bad, I write this down into the book, and I plan to use this until the end of life. So I really have something condensed and the essence of the life in the end. That's the idea behind this. Other than that, I'm using Day One also since 2015. And I love Day One because whenever I save anything in there, it shows up the year after on the same day. And it's amazing to see then the development of the business. So I have a business journal in there, but also a journal that I call What Really Matters, which is my family journal and things like that. So Day One is really my favorite journaling tool. But there again, I usually only save things that give me insights. So I'm not the type of person who really writes down every day what I ate, how I felt, my thoughts, although I probably should. I still just didn't get the habit. I know our co-founder, Paco Cantero, he is doing this. He has a routine there. So I can fully relate to this. And also using paper notes books, because it's something special writing down on paper. And remember, the paperless movement, we don't hate paper. We actually love paper. We just hate wasting paper for things that you could actually do a lot more efficient in digital systems. But that's another topic. Let's see what else he comes up with.
The book, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And essentially the idea is that you write 3 pages by hand. I actually wrote 4 this morning because I was feeling like I was on a bit of a roll. You write 3 pages by hand of stream of consciousness, whatever comes to mind. And I find that this is a great way of unclogging my brain of any thoughts and errant things that were in there. And it also helps me come up with interesting ideas for what I can do with my business and my life. And even though there's a lot of apps and tech on this list, the trusty pen and paper notebook is just like one of the things that I go back to so often and really levels up my productivity as well. All right, next comes a quick 5-minute step in my morning routine where I use the app Things 3 as my to-do list to figure out what I'm doing for the rest of the day. Now, at the moment, this is what my home screen on iOS looks.
Is this really his home screen? 275 messages. If he shared his number with a lot of people or fans, or I don't know, then I can imagine this. But oh boy, that's a busy inbox there. That's something that we really address in the paperless movement, to have inbox zero daily, to stay sane. But let's see, maybe he addresses this.
Looks like. You can see that basically I've got a calendar at the top, and then I've got two widgets for things. So I've got the inbox widget and I've got the today widget. And the way I think of...
So let's go back quickly. I really like that he uses widgets. Paco, for example, our co-founder, he hates widgets. He wants to have a clean look. His desk is always clean and all this. I need these widgets. I love them. I actually have Readwise widget there as well. So every now and then I see a different highlight that I captured in a Kindle book or anything like that. That gives me this space repetition naturally. I like this. I also have my day one application there that shows me every day what happened the years before on the same day. So these are the places I'm using this. But when it comes for task management, I had these things on there. Now with the processes that we implemented, it's not needed. When I'm in work mode, I go to the tools and go into the place where I see exactly what I need to do next, and that's it. He's also using the Apple Notes widget there. So he's obviously using Apple Notes. It's an amazing widget. It's very nice to use. And obviously he's using Obsidian, but probably we will hear about this as well. I like that he's using Superhuman as well. Another guy who gets it, that Superhuman is the fastest email processor ever.
And then I've got two widgets for things. So I've got the inbox widget and I've got the today widget. And the way I think of managing a to-do list, it's basically two different lists. There is a to-do list and then a today list. And I find that this generally keeps things simple. So what I'll do is I'll look on my today list to see what shows up on there. So for example, film this video is on my today list. Call my grandma is on this list, and this is something that repeats 2 days after completion, which means if I tick it off right now, then it's gonna show up 2 days from now and remind me that I should call my grandma. This also synchronizes with my calendar. So if we look at the top, we can see what calendar events I've got on in my life. And this is a nice way for me to plan my day in the morning. It just takes a couple of minutes, but it just helps me realize that, okay, this is exactly what I'm working on. Now, generally I've got a pretty good idea of what
I have to agree. The day look at things is really amazing. But things is not something that we use at the Paperless Movement anymore. I used it years ago, but it was so enclosed in the Apple system that it didn't allow me to connect with other tools outside. This might have changed in the meantime. If you know us, we are using Todoist heavily for our quick capturing of personal tasks, for the speedies, which are tasks below 15 minutes. And for project management, we are using ClickUp, and everything gets synchronized to Sansama, which is our daily planner then, to actually plan out the action points
I need to work on. But in case I need some inspiration, I look at my anytime list, which is just like my endless to-do list, and I decide, okay, what is the stuff on here that I just need to get done today? I don't bother with this week, I don't bother with this month, because I find that all of that stuff is all a bit mythical. All I do is...
Absolutely. We are 100% aligned there. That's something that we also don't believe in yearly goals. You can set yearly goals, for example, as a kind of North Star, so you know the direction you should go for. But having specific deadlines for these goals to achieve this, things change so quickly nowadays, especially in business, that you need to be able to react and be flexible to adjust your goals and your timelines and the task priorities and so on very quickly. That's why you need a perfect productivity system that works seamlessly with this goal organization. So we are 100% aligned there. In fact, at the Paperless Movement and in ICOR, we believe in the weekly goals and the daily highlight. That's something that we teach. We never look ahead of a week. We plan out the week. We work on this week, and then a week after we will see what we will work on next. Obviously, there will be a backfill. There's prioritization going on, a lot of things, but this is really what worked for us. And Paco, our co-founder, he's running 4 businesses in parallel without an assistant, and that's exactly what he's using as well. So, Ali, we are fully aligned there.
Is focus on what are the things I need to do today. Now, what happens next depends on whether I want to write something in the morning or whether I want to film something in the morning, because that's generally how I use my mornings. And generally, if I want to write, then I'll take my journal and I'll stick it in my bag along with my 11-inch iPad Pro, and I'll head out of the house to a local coffee shop or a local restaurant. And this is another productivity tool that served me well over the years, and that is changing up the location. I used to do this a lot in medical school. I would go to different libraries and different coffee shops to work in those different locations in each day. And generally, I find that it makes work feel a lot more like play, which is something I talk about in the first chapter of my upcoming book, Feel Good Productivity, How to Do More of What Matters to You. That'll be linked down below if you want to check it out. And then another tool I find really useful is...
Well, I can relate to this, that when you change locations, that you get a different mindset. That's also why we use several tools that seems for the outsider for the same purpose. But it's the different type of work that we do in the different tools. And therefore, the moment I switch tools, I get a different focus, a different sensation. So I can 100% relate to this also to the location change, because your mind gives you a different perspective. However, I'm never changing locations. I have my studio here, I'm working here, and we are on the countryside. There are not a lot of places to go to in order to do actual work. So when I was working in a big corporate, actually, there was the option to move places. And this is something that I did a lot when I was in a big office with all the other people. Sometimes I moved into a smaller. It's a combination of things, and also depending of the depth of the work that you need to do. Deep work versus shallow work and things like that. Well, nice so far what he's sharing there.
This is the one that I use at the moment. It's the Peak Design 6-liter sling. And it's basically a fairly simple bag, but it has enough space for an 11-inch iPad Pro and also my journal and pen. And then if I feel like it, I'll take a camera with me as well, and that plops nicely into this bag. And now I have a little sling bag that I can carry around with me. Now, having two different bags is actually super helpful. So essentially my journal and my iPad always live in this one, but then I also have my enormous laptop bag, which is the Peter McKinnon Everyday.
I was just about to say that that's the one that I have as well. I mean, a similar one, but there my MacBook fits in, my iPad fits in, and all my clothing and so on. That's usually my travel bag, because I was doing a lot of traveling before COVID, and this was a no-brainer.
A camera bag that has my laptop and a bunch of accessories and an extra camera in it as well. But if I'm just leaving the house to go to a coffee shop to do some writing, it's really nice to just be able to grab and go with the sling rather than have to lug around the enormous laptop bag. And this might be a bit overkill, but one of the things that I swear by is reducing the friction as much as possible for the things that I want to do more of in my life. I would like to do more of going out and about and going to a local coffee shop or going to the park and working from there. And so whatever I can do to reduce the friction of that happening makes it way easier for me to do and makes it way easier to build that habit.
Amen. That's absolutely what we are thriving for as well, reducing friction or optimizing your processes. And processes always seem complex, like business process and so on, but everything we do in a day, we as humans are systems, and we are handling by processes, and so you can optimize everything. Actually, something that I do as well, that I actually saw from Ali Abdaal, is brushing my teeth while I'm doing a shower to save time. So that's one example out of real life that he's doing and I'm doing now as well.
Point, I'm at a local coffee shop or restaurant or wherever. I like to change up the location, and the app that I tend to mostly write on my iPad is called Ulysses. It's a very simple, minimalistic, markdown-based writing app, and so whether I'm writing my email newsletter or working on some new book projects or even planning videos, usually I'll do the first draft of writing in Ulysses, and then I'll transfer it into Notion if it's a video, or Google Docs if it's a book thing, or ConvertKit if it's an email thing.
So that's really amazing that he uses this still. And it's an amazing application for writers and editors and so on. I know that our co-founder, Paco Ontero, he was using this, then he switched to drafts, which, well, reduces friction to bring the information then into the final destinations. The same thing that Ali does here as well. So he drafts things out and then he brings it into the final destination and then probably refines it there as well. Nowadays, Paco and I, we are both using Tana, as this is just quickest way to draft things out, in our opinion, when it comes to using an outliner, professional outliners, and then bring it into another destination or keep it in there. So that's why we neither use drafts nor do we use Ulysses anymore.
But Ulysses tends to be the place where I do most of my writing. And the thing I like about it is that you can also track your daily word count. And so I've set a target of 1,000 words a day, and I can see my progress towards that target. Now, one productivity tool.
Nevertheless, this is an amazing tool for sure. And we know many love this tool.
That I haven't talked about in this video is in fact therapy, which I have started recently in the last few months and has been game-changing for me to help understand my own emotions, understand the limiting beliefs that I've got getting in the way of my productivity and my life. So I'm delighted to say that this video is a paid partnership with BetterHelp. Bet is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 credentialed therapists who can help you with whatever issues you find yourself struggling with. To get started, you just answer a handful of questions about yourself and about your needs, and that way BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from the network. And then when you've got your therapist, you can talk to them in whatever way feels most comfortable for you. It could be a phone call, it could be a video call, it could be by text, and you can message your therapist anytime. You can schedule live sessions whenever it's convenient for you. And if for whatever reason you don't get on with your therapist, you can always switch to another one. If any of that sounds up your street and you'd like to try out therapy with BetterHelp, then you can get 10% off by going to betterhelp.com/Ali Abdaal. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/Ali Abdaal. Or you can hit the link in the video description and that will give you 10% off your first month. So thank you so much, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this video. And then once
I think that's really interesting. I mean, even if it was a sponsored part there, I think applications like this are really interesting. We are using something similar. It's an app where you can call your doctor. via video chat and so on. And having 4 kids and a dog and a cat, there are many reasons. There's also for animals a similar app as well. And usually things always happen on a weekend or in the night or whenever you have no time. So that we are leveraging technology in this way, and also for the therapists that he had described there, I think that's really so useful. That really shows how we can leverage technology nowadays to live a better life.
Once I'm done with a few hours of writing, I'll usually come back home and get on my desk, and then the thing that I'm playing when I'm on my desk is YouTube videos that have focus music. So this is my YouTube homepage at the moment, The Enchanted Lands, Immersive Writing Session, Peaceful Day at Hogwarts. And I'll just put on a random one of these, like Lord of the Rings, Rivendell, ambience and music. And this is just like the music that I like to have on in the background. Usually I'll full screen this and have it open on my second monitor, because I don't really use the second monitor for much. I'm mostly a single monitor kind of guy, but it's nice having the ambience and having the sound and stuff in the background as a way of helping me focus when I'm working. Next, I normally...
Yep, I'm also listening to music, especially if I'm doing deep work. I usually listen to deep house music, and if I need to get motivated, drum and bass, UK electronic music and things like that. Depending on if I need to get pushed or if I need to calm down, I also listen to the meditation, ambient sounds and so on, really depending on my mood and the type of work that I'm working on.
Normally have a quick check of my emails to see if there's anything interesting that's popped up, and the app that I've been using for my emails since 2019 is called Superhuman. And Superhuman is the fastest tool I've ever seen to help navigate email, and it's got loads of keyboard shortcuts, which means I can get through my email inbox about twice as fast as I could with previous apps that I've tried, like the Gmail app. And then usually while I'm there,
Yep. Superhuman all the way. Paco and I, we love Superhuman. People say it's expensive, but you really have to think about the time you're saving if you're using it correctly. And in the email management course that we have, we explain Inbox Zero in a tool agnostic way, but eventually we show how to use Superhuman to double down on the speed. So 100% aligned there. I think it lacks on the team features. They try to introduce team features for a long time, but it doesn't make sense at all. So if you really need to manage your emails, to do support tickets and things like that, and move emails between team members, there we are using Missive, where we manage all the support, but just for the advantage that we can keep track of the tickets. Other than that, I always get back to Superhuman, because also on mobile, it's the fastest email app I ever seen. It's such a clear look. And Command K, they really put the threshold there the moment they introduced Command K. So many other tools are now doing the Command K thing where you just write down what you want. But Superhuman always gets it. When I'm searching for something, it gets what I mean. And usually I find it there. Also the automatic inboxing. So many reasons that Superhuman is amazing. So again, aligned here, Ali.
There's no emails that require my attention. I'll have a browse through any newsletters that I'm subscribed to and see if there's anything interesting. So the two that I read most often are Morning Brew, which is a daily newsletter for like tech and business and finance. And secondly, Readwise, which is an email that every morning, it just sends me 5 highlights from books or articles or stuff that I've highlighted over the last like 10 years. And so it's a great way of me resurfacing the things that I've highlighted in the past. Then for the...
Yep, Readwise. I mentioned it with the widgets in the beginning. Readwise is really such an amazing application to resurface the things that you highlighted in the past that you usually would forget.
The rest of the workday, we generally have even more writing. And all my writing when it comes to videos and when it comes to courses is done in Notion. Unsurprisingly, again, I've been using Notion since 2019, and we basically run our entire company using Notion and a few other bits of software. So
that's amazing. Let's go back.
2019, and we basically run our...
That's actually amazing that they run on Notion. I know that Paperlike also runs completely on Notion. I never got the hang of it to really use Notion for project management. So therefore, I was heavily using Notion in the past, Paco as well, and I was using cross databases for knowledge management. It's amazing, but I never liked the experience doing proper project management or professional project management. Therefore, I started using ClickUp very early on, and then I used both in combination, ClickUp and Notion. But therefore, when you have team members, you have to train them in 2 different tools. Yes, there were ways to cross-connect the information. So I had this, so the databases got connected. I made the knowledge management in Notion, so it gets synchronized, they made the key information to ClickUp, and it worked. I used a tool called Unito for this synchronization, but then we decided that we kill Notion and go for ClickUp, even that the knowledge management experience was less back then, and there are still advantages in Notion, especially when it comes to speed and the general UI UX when it comes to knowledge management. But we increased our overall performance, our overall productivity by just focusing on one tool. And we thought it was more important to focus on the action part of the tool than on the knowledge management part. Now the ClickUp is catching up. We are really happy because now you have the ClickUp brain and now you can leverage your knowledge base a lot better. The cross connections work better. So there's no looking back. But obviously, Notion is also a legit solution, as well as Asana, Monday, and all the other tools. You really have just to understand what works best for your specific type of business. So great to see another company just working completely in Notion.
Entire company using Notion and a few other bits of software. So for example, I'm writing this video in Notion. It's all planned out over here. I've got my 25 or so bullet points and I've got this open on the screen in front of me as I'm talking to you. We've also got the content calendar with titles and thumbnails that are upcoming.
Yeah, that's something that I really loved in Notion. That's something that we cannot visualize this way yet in ClickUp. But I loved it as well, creating all the videos and then having the thumbnails there. And then obviously the advantage is that you always can get back. Probably he has in there as well the link to the video when it was published, all the resources. So whenever you need to leverage the assets later on, you can easily find the information that you are looking for, and then you can leverage it for other videos and things like that, easy sharing and other things.
On the YouTube channel, everything's organized in Notion. We've got annual objectives for our company. We've got our key results, so we use an OKR system, more on that later. And then we've got the different quests or projects that the team are working on for this sprint. So we operate in 5-week cycles, and so everyone has a little quest or two that they're doing in the 5 weeks. Now, while
I like this idea with the quests.
Doing this work stuff, oftentimes I'll be on this desk, which actually happens to be a standing desk, but because all the cameras and stuff are connected to it, I tend not to really use it in standing desk mode.
That's the point. I would love to have a standing desk. My doctor also recommends this for my back pain and things like that. But man, as a YouTuber, so many things are attached to this and there's no way moving it up and down properly. Maybe I could set it up in a way, but it's a huge table that I have here that I also need, in my opinion, and that's why I'm not having a moving table.
And again, this is kind of overkill. I also have an extra desk next to me, which is also a standing desk that has a treadmill underneath it. And the treadmill is genuinely one of the most useful things that I've installed in my productivity arsenal over the last 6 months. I think I installed it 6 months ago. And in that time, I've used the treadmill for 65 days. I've traversed a different distance of 235 kilometers, and I've used it 144 times. So on average, twice a day for those 65 days. And it's great.
I like the concept and the idea behind a treadmill in an office. So you keep moving all the time, especially if you're doing reading or other work. Something I'm not a fan of, being with somebody in a meeting and talking to this person, right? This doesn't work. I'm not running towards somebody and then, sweating and I'm telling him. Obviously, he's talking about walking and things like that. That might work. But we had these experiences, Paco and I, with people doing this. So always depends on. But I don't have a treadmill. I go to the gym and then I give full power. And then I have a dog and I will go with the dog. So I need this mindset shift as well and go outside and be just shut down for an hour or more. And then I feel with the fresh air that the walking gives I just like it. So therefore I never thought about having a treadmill in my office.
If I sit down on the computer, that's a Windows PC that's on the standing desk. So if I'm playing Diablo 4, which is the game I'm playing these days.
Okay, he's playing Diablo 4. I would love to know more if he really is a fan of Diablo 4. Talking about this for any gamers out there. Last Epoch is launching now, 21st. I will check it out. And also, obviously, the new Path of Exile. But we won't dive into gaming here. Well, not more to add there, as this is a bit out of topic here.
I'll often be walking on the treadmill while I'm playing it. But if I'm working, I will just take my keyboard.
That's something I actually like. I'm on a treadmill while I'm playing it. That's something I could imagine as well.
Which is a mechanical keyboard, which is the one that we're sort of building ourselves these days. I'll take the mechanical keyboard, I'll move it from this Mac Mini over to the Windows PC. I'll often switch between Windows and Mac just because it's kind of nice to change platforms. Again, a bit.
So I'm using the Logitech Mini and you hear it already. This is tactile. I love the mechanical keyboards. Obviously nobody else is sitting in the studio, so I'm not annoying anybody, but I like this feedback. And I'm using MX Master 3 mouse from Logitech as well. So I'm not using the Apple tools with my Mac. And one of the reasons is something that he mentioned as well. It seamlessly switches between Windows and Mac. You, in fact, with Logitech, you can actually click on a file on your Mac and drag it over into your Windows desktop and it will paste it there. That's amazing, right? So a while ago, I had my Windows machine and the Mac next to each other, but now I moved it upstairs so I can really focus here on the paperless movement work. And when it comes to gaming or game development, then I move upstairs and I have a different mindset. That's really important to me, that I can stay focused, and therefore I'm not using the Switch anymore. However, I really love the feeling and integration of the Logitech. Also, especially the mouse really nicely integrates with the macOS for tool switching and things like that. So that's what I'm using.
Overkill, you don't need this, but if you have a standing desk and you haven't yet tried a treadmill underneath it, I would really recommend it. I think the one I have is the Walking Pad C2. No relationship with them, but I put an Amazon affiliate link down in the video description if you want to check it out. Speaking of keyboard, I generally use a mechanical keyboard. This is one that we are in the process of building out for our tech brand. More on that in a little while. So I've been testing a bunch of mechanical keyboards over the last 12 months or so. And when I'm switching between Windows,
well, looks interesting. And as I already mentioned, I love mechanical keyboards. So if you guys like me to check his new brand out, let me know in the comments below.
There is a really good cross-platform app that I use to track my time, and that is called Rise. Now, Rise is a really good time tracking app that I've actually been using since November of 2021. So I've had it installed on my Mac and then on my Windows PC since that time. And you can see for all of 2022, I was tracking my time as well. And then for all of 2023 so far, I'm filming this in August, I've also been tracking my time using Rise. It's an automatic time tracker. So it basically figures out what app you're on, what app is active, or what Chrome tab or Safari window is active. For example,
I really have to look into this. I was using, again, for I think a decade, Rescue Time for time tracking. I hate manual time tracking. It will never work out. So therefore, Rescue Time is also tracking the time automatically. It recognizes the web pages you are on and so on. But I never really liked the interface. It looks very dated. So I love the looks of Rise, and maybe they have a better attempt on this. But looking at this is amazing. I have to check out Rise for sure. And what I'm curious about, if it actually recognizes the websites if I'm using the Arc browser, because that's something that is a bit of an issue with using the Arc browser, that external tools no longer recognize this, but probably I'm able to use a Rise Chrome extension and it should work perfectly as well. So yeah, I will make sure to check out Rise for sure.
I've spent a lot of time in video conferencing. I've spent 83 hours on writing. I've spent 87 hours documenting, 76 hours in in-person meeting, 183 hours spent in Google Docs this year. That's quite a lot of time. Most of that was just doing edits for my book.
Well, and 41 hours in Hogwarts Legacy. I started Hogwarts Legacy. That's a game actually in the Harry Potter universe. I started it as well, but I never got out of Hogwarts. I don't know why. But 41 hours is impressive. So he probably got quite a bit into the game.
Book, for example. And I've loved Rise so much that I actually reached out to the guys who created Rise and I offered to invest in them. And so we are now invested in Rise as an angel investor, which is kind of interesting. But if you want to check it out, then it'll be doing me a favor, because then it'll show that my, the amount I've invested in the company is the company is going to grow. Fingers crossed. But that'll be linked down in the video description if you want to check it out. So then
well, I think there was a wise decision to invest in this.
Usually when I've done a bunch of writing throughout the day in these various different apps that we've already talked about, I then go on to filming a video. So for example, right now I'm filming a video.
I'm interested in, let's see.
And there's been a bunch of productivity tips and
this one. Is this a square monitor? That's really interesting to see. He didn't mention it. He said he's not using it, so I don't know if he bought it or if this is a testing device, but the format is really interesting. I think especially for coders, this could be quite useful, as you can have a split screen here, and then you have more or less two vertical monitors there, as developers using this a lot. Well, interesting.
Filming a video. So for example, right now I'm filming a video. And there's been a bunch of productivity tips and tricks and tools that I've used over the last 6+ years to get the process of filming videos to be as efficient and low friction as possible. Because again, it's a thing that I enjoy doing, it's a thing I want to do. And if I can just reduce the friction as much as possible to doing the thing.
I'm just checking out his Apple Watch. No, well, I got the Ultra.
It means I'm way more likely to do the thing. And so on this desk, for example, everything is a bit of a mess right now, but we've got this main angle that films camera angle A. We've got camera angle B, which is an overhead angle up here. We've got camera angle C, which is a shorts angle over there. It's a third camera that I use to film short form content. And all these cameras are hooked up with HDMI to the Atom Mini Pro, which is...
Okay, I like the setup. I had this overhead camera a lot when I did a lot more hardware reviews, Maybe we're getting back to this. So there's space now again on the desktop. Let's see. The Atom Mini Pro, also very interesting. I'm curious. This is, I don't know if this is the ISO version that actually allows 4K integration. So for those who know, I'm using the Atomos Ninjas for recording. And they have a device like this, but it only records in 1080p. And as I'm doing my videos as well in 4K, I never used the combination of setup. I in fact feed in both cameras into my Mac, and then I record both in Simula, and then I have a multicam setup in the video editor, and then I switch between the different feeds this way in post-production, not live, as he probably does here. But for live streaming, obviously, this is perfect, as he can switch angles and can show stuff. That's where it becomes really useful.
Now this is really fun because if, for example, I'm doing a live session for my part-time YouTuber Academy, which is my course, I can switch between this camera angle and this overhead camera angle. And then I can show my phone, or I can do some writing, or whatever the thing is, and people's minds are absolutely blown when this is what a Zoom call looks like. And then connected up to the main camera, we have the Sennheiser MK416, which is connected to a little kind of...
Yeah, I was using the Sennheiser MK. I was using the same Sennheiser microphone. It's about $1,000. It's a high-end microphone that they use in Hollywood for making movies and so on. And I bought this, totally overkill, obviously. But I know that, but I love it as the quality was really nice. And I never wanted to have a microphone in front of me, so the video gets a different vibe. However, it never got to the audio quality that I like, the podcast quality, the deep voice and things like that. That's why I now decided to go with the Shure microphone here. Nevertheless, I will keep the Sennheiser. There are always situations where we could use them.
Stand up over there. And this is nice because it means like this microphone is just out of shot, but hopefully the audio from this microphone is very good. And then
yeah, that's the point. You really have to position it as close as possible to you, so you're not catching up any other noises as well. And well, but it always worked very well. I think the past 100 videos or something, I used the Sennheiser microphone as well.
I also have this microphone, which is the Elgato Wave 3, which is connected straight to my Mac. And this is what I use if I'm on a podcast or...
Well, I have a lot of Elgato. I have the Stream Decks. I have actually, in fact, 3 different Stream Decks here because I just love them from Elgato. I also have the key lights. I have 3 key lights. Right now, there's just one switched on. There are so many things from Elgato. They have such high quality, in my opinion. The only thing is I don't have is the microphone, as I have the Shure. So... But you see also the microphone stand that he has here. That's the one that I have here as well. That's also from Elgato. It's so amazing because I can just move it easily out of my way. I never liked the thing when it comes from the side. So that's why I have this one. Paco also got this now for our podcast. So yeah, Elgato, certainly a nice brand.
Sometimes if I'm doing videos or if I'm on a Zoom call, for example, this is the microphone that I'll just sort of swing around and bring back in. And this is connected to the Elgato microphone low profile arm that we also use in our podcast setup. Now there's a few other tools that I have on my desk that are quite nice. This thing I've got in front of me, which is what the monitor is on. This is a set from Ugmonk.
By the way, the monitor, it seems to be the studio display from Apple. I got actually 2 of them for 2 monitors. At some point I just invested this because I love them so much. The quality is so crisp and perfect, and having the same colors and everything, that's why I duplicated them. And there's no looking back. I'm also very impressed by the sound quality of the studio display, I have to say. So, but they are on the normal height. So to me, they're a bit low. I can imagine to put it up better to get a better angle. So that he's using a stand makes total sense.
Called the Gather 2.0. And it's like a stand for the monitor and then a few other things. It's got a phone charging dock thing over here, which is quite nice. And this little...
Yeah, I got a phone charger as well. And that's actually a combination. Don't know if you can see it. Let's just unplug it. There we go. So the phone goes on like this with MagSafe, and there I can put in my Apple Watch, and down there I can put in my AirPods if I would have some. I'm actually using the Beats for my gym, and therefore I don't need to put this there. But I use this on a daily basis to charge my phone, and what I really like is with the new iPhone, when you switched the screen off, it goes into this new horizontal mode, and I really love it, especially when you have a timer. And that's something I set to put in the pressure to know how long I was working on something, and then the timer runs there. It's really a nice implementation, and therefore I also love this stand there.
Box that I put post-it notes in because I enjoy post-it notes, and this other little box that I put post-it notes in because I enjoy post-it notes, and it's like magnetized, so it magnetizes to the laptop stand. And this is nice because it frees up space on the desk, which means the Mac Mini can go underneath the laptop stand, which is kind of cool. And then
would be interesting what Mac Mini this is. That's probably the M1. I'm having a Mac Mini M1 as well, as I'm doing music production as well, again upstairs in the studio, and therefore I'm using the Mac Mini and a huge ultra wide screen for this. And the Mac Mini M1 is really impressive when it comes to performance. So, but for my main setup, working in a paperless movement on a daily basis, I 100% rely on my MacBook Pro M1 chip maxed out. But eventually I am looking for Apple Studio with an Ultra chip, I don't know, M3 or whatever there is. So I just will wait this year what they will come up with, and then I might upgrade my studio. But so far I'm really happy with the MacBook Pro. No problem to edit all the videos. Everything that you see at the paperless movement is all done on this MacBook.
All of these gizmos, the Mac Mini is connected to the CalDigit TS3 Thunderbolt dock, which is then what the thing.
Well, the dock, something very essential for me as well, as there is the network going in for the internet as well and other things. I have the one from Elgato. That's another thing that I have from them.
Powers these two displays. And again, there's going to be links to all of this stuff down in the video description if you want to check it out. And then after filming, all the footage gets uploaded to Google Drive, where we've used 75 terabytes out of the.
We have the similar amount on Dropbox, so you can imagine what we are paying per month. But it's amazing to have cloud storage and that you don't have to worry about this. And if you want to use any assets from years ago, you will still find it. What a time to be alive.
The shared 115 terabytes that we have on Google Drive, and we use Google Workspace.
What I would be really interested in, we try to use G Drive as well, but with the streaming option, the desktop app that you have there, we always ran into problem with big files if you want to do video editing. So it was not possible to do proper video editing out of this Finder. So I don't know if his editor actually downloading the file and then edit them locally and then upload them again to G Drive. That's what I would imagine, because one of Paco's companies is a marketing company and they're doing a lot of these things as well. And they ran into these issues as well. Other than that, we love using Google Workspaces for all the features and tools that we can use there. But for this asset sharing and editing and so on, we use Dropbox 100%.
For all of our kind of team's email addresses and for this Google Drive storage capacity as well. Now, at various points in the day, especially after having a coffee, I might take a trip or two to the bathroom. And when I'm on the toilet, if I'm being unintentional with how I'm spending my time, I'm scrolling Twitter or Instagram like most of us do. But if I'm being intentional about how I'm spending my time, then the app that I use, which is amazing, is called Reader. Now, Reader is the very first app that I have on my iPhone on my screen number 2. And essentially, it's an RSS feed aggregator that's built by the people who build Readwise. And so anytime I want to read an article, it just gets saved into Reader, and then I can read those articles all in one go when I'm on the toilet.
Yeah, Paco and I, we both love Reader as well. It's the most amazing read later app that you can get there and integrate seamlessly with Readwise. So this means if you highlight anything that you're reading in there, it will get synchronized to Readwise, and Readwise then not only shows it up, as Ali just showed before, in the widgets and so on. No, it will also synchronize to your note-taking apps that you hooked up to the Readwise. So therefore, there's frictionless distilling of the information. It's just an amazing application. Also, something I really love about Reader is that I can save YouTube videos on there, and there will be the transcript, and then I can highlight the transcript, and whenever you click this, it will jump into the part of the video. So there are many things that they did right. There's also a great AI integration and a lot of things.
For example, this is an article from Jack Rains, 5 career-related things I've recently changed my mind on, and I can just read the whole article on Reader, and then if I want to highlight anything, I can double-click the thing, it gets highlighted, and then those highlights also synchronize with Readwise, which then also synchronizes with Notion, which means I basically automatically save and resurface the stuff that I've read that I found interesting. Now, usually after writing and filming, which are the two big things that I need to do, I will consult my calendar, and the app that I use for my calendar is Fantastical, which again, I've been using for absolutely years now. So for example, I've got a filming block right now, and then at 11:30, we've got a content meeting with Content Squad. And if nothing imminent is happening, then usually once I've done the writing and filming thing, I would just go for a walk.
Okay, Fantastical is a fantastic fantastic calendar application, absolutely. It also integrates with Todoist, so you can have your tasks on there as well in combination. However, if you know us, then our setup looks a bit different in the meantime. I was using Fantastical in the past, especially as it has an amazing Apple Watch implementation. But now we are using Vimcal for the calendar app and Sansama for a planner app. So Fantastical is not really in our scope anymore. In our personal productivity system, we know many of our members are still using Fantastical, and obviously Ali is using it as well. So it's a fantastic application for sure.
Walking is another one of those absolutely underrated tools when it comes to productivity because it's really fun and it recharges energy and you can reconnect with nature depending on where you're walking. And I usually also find that some of the best ideas that I have are the ideas that I have while I'm walking. Now, while I'm
Yeah, absolutely. Relate to this, as I mentioned in the beginning, walking with the dog, that gives so many new ideas and clarity about things that you think about. It's so underestimated to take a quick walk if you struggle, and you will come back completely recharged and with a clearer mind for sure.
Walking, if I come across any ideas, I will always have my phone with me and I'll just jot those ideas down in Apple Notes. And again, I've tried dozens of different note-taking apps over the years, but the one that I just default to if I need to write down something quickly is Apple Notes. And on my home screen on my iPhone, I have my Apple Notes inbox folder, which is where stuff goes by default. And then over time, at some point when I feel like it, I process what's in the inbox and convert it into Notion or into Ulysses documents or into tasks and things or whatever the thing might be. So for example, the other day when I went for a walk,
So that's a great approach. That's where we say when people ask, okay, you talk about Tana, Heptabase, Reader, and things like that for your personal knowledge management. What about Apple Notes? Yeah, still using Apple Notes. And we call it a temporary note-taking app or temporary notes that we collect in there. So exactly as Ali said, it's in an inbox and there needs to be a process to process these notes into the final destination. So it's just easier to capture this than going into Notion and finding the right page and then writing things down. That gives too much friction to collect information. Therefore, to have an intermediate tool like Apple Notes is perfect, so you can be safe and sound that you got it out of your mind. And you can process this calmly later on or whenever you feel you need to look it up or you will remember, oh, well, I wrote this down there. Let's see if I find it.
Listening to the audio.
This being said, I'm using more and more Tana Capture as this is amazing as I just need to talk into my iPhone and I know it will be sent to Tana. Their AI will transcribe this and even makes a summary out of this. That's something that I'm using more and more over Apple Notes. Apple Notes is really something where I need to take a quick picture of something. I draw something down. If I go to IKEA, for example, and I need to buy a bookshelf, then I will never go to Tana or Heptabase and write down the sizes that I need. I will do this in Apple Notes, for example.
Audiobook, The Greatness Mindset by my friend Lewis Hose. And then as I was listening to that audiobook and coming across interesting things, I was taking notes in Apple Notes. And then at some point, I'm going to turn this into a video on the channel, a book club episode about the book, The Greatness Mindset. Now, usually when I'm walking, I'm not listening to things, but if I do feel like I want to listen to things, then I'm either listening to a podcast on YouTube or Spotify, or I'm listening to an audiobook on Audible. And very excitingly, my book is also going to be available on Audible. I am narrating it in the Penguin Studios next month, so that's going to be super fun. I've got a whole 3 days where I'm spending all 3 days just narrating the audiobook and trying not to talk too fast and trying to bring the vibes into reading my own book, which should be fun. But you can check it out on Audible. Again, I'll link the website down below for the book, Feel Good Productivity. If you want to check it out, you might like to pre-order because there's going to be loads of bonuses if you pre-order. All the details on the website. There's another cool app that I find really helpful sometimes when I'm walking or when I'm driving, and that is Otter. That's otter.ai, which is a sort of AI-enabled voice.
That's really interesting that he's using Otter. Otter has been around for a long time. It was one of the first tools that allow you audio transcription and did a good job. I never checked it out again, to be honest. Now with Tana audio capturing and things like that, I'm curious how they evolved over time. I know we tested it in the meantime for team meetings, but we are using MeetGeek for team meeting transcriptions and summaries. So curious how he's using Otter.
Recording and transcription app, and I've got the widget on page 3 of my phone, and so if I ever need to just record something, if I've got my AirPods in or if I'm in a meeting or having a conversation where I feel like actually recording and transcribing this would be really helpful, I just hit the record button on Otter, and then usually what that does is it starts recording immediately and I can just have my phone on in the background or whatever, and it will do a almost perfect transcription of the meeting or whatever the conversation is, and it will also use AI to summarize what's being said and what's been talked about. And this is super helpful if I'm walking and I have an idea for a video, but I don't want to sort of type it on my phone like this. this while I'm walking, I'll just dictate it into Otter. And then the rest of the day,
well, that's really interesting, actually. And I just received, so that's not sponsored, but I don't know if you heard about it, Plot Node. I just received this device. Where do I have it? There we go. So it's actually a hardware. Okay. So you see that's a really thin card. And what this allows you, you can press the button and it will then start recording, and it is connected via Bluetooth with your iPhone, and it will transcribe it nearly in real time, and also does the summaries and things like that. I'm not a fan of having additional tools to carry around, but here it's really thin and it also fits on the back of the iPhone. So you have two different modes. If you switch the mode, it will record the phone call and transcribe this as well. But again, I'm not sure if this is really useful, as note-taking apps like Tana now provide you these audio captures as well. So therefore, I rather will use the note-taking app and record my audio directly into the note-taking app, so I have the summary readily available, instead of having another step to then copy paste the things from one tool to another. That's why I think I will never use this on a daily basis. And also Otter is also, well, if you can use Zapier or if it integrates directly with note-taking apps, that would be really useful as well. I think the best is always to connect with Readwise, so you can synchronize it with all your other note-taking apps as well.
When it comes to productivity, is broadly spent on general work stuff. So we've talked about how we use Notion for a lot of things. We also use Slack quite a lot for day-to-day communication.
Well, Slack. We are heavily using Slack every day. This is where the communication happens. Again, when it comes to our ICOR methodology, we have strict rules. So in Slack, there's really just general conversations, things that we share, ideas that spark. But whenever we talk anything about task related or business knowledge management, then it needs to go to the final destinations. What we usually do, if a thread starts and we go really deep into a discussion and we feel then, okay, this should be now in ClickUp, for example, then we go to ClickUp, we create the asset there, and then we link back to the conversation. That's the amazing thing about Slack and so many other tools now as well, that you can link to specific parts in these conversations and therefore provide the context whenever you create a new asset in another tool. That's something Slack really excels on, and obviously also the collaboration, that you can collaborate with other companies using Slack. It's huge, it's huge. Also, we are using Slack as a notification center. So if somebody signs up to the membership, we will get a notification there with the details of the member, what plan they signed up for. We also get other notifications, like if something is completed in ClickUp, then it shows up in Slack, as we get much quicker notified in Slack, as we are looking in this anyway, then going to ClickUp and check out. So therefore we have just one notification center that's popping up and directing us into the direction where we will find the information that is relevant.
Communication, and I've got a video up there that's a more detailed look of how I use 12 specific apps to run every aspect of my business. We also use Loom, which is a
That would be interesting. So if you want me to react to the other video as well, let me know in the comments below, and I'm happy to dive into this. Actually really interesting stuff that Ali is sharing there.
great screen recording software. Again, amazing.
Yeah, Loom. I'm using Loom as well. I love Loom, and the recent AI implementations are amazing. It makes a transcription, obviously, but then it creates a title out of it. So many things, and it's so great to share Loom videos where people can react. And that's actually something we are using to react or to answer questions inside the Paperless Movement membership. Sometimes it's easier to quickly show a screen recording and talk about it and share the Loom video than writing a long form of text. And then I need a tool that allows me to quickly capture this, and Loom is certainly one of these. Snagit would be another one that I'm heavily using to make screenshots and quick video recordings as well.
Saving time in not having meetings, because if someone needs to update the team on anything, they'll just record a Loom, and then we can just watch that Loom back at double speed. So for example, this morning, Angus sent me this Loom kind of with an update on our business financials, and I just watched this Loom at like 2.5x speed, and that saved loads of time, and it meant that we didn't need Angus to have a meeting with me to update me as to what's going on with the finances of the business. So it's really good for productivity in terms of saving time, but also in terms of communication with the rest of the team. Now, if it happens to be a workout day, then at some point during the day, I'll spend about an hour or so in the gym. And the app that I use to track my workouts these days is called Fitness App, which is a thing, I think it's a company called Trainerize, but this is an app that lets you kind of do workouts and stuff, and you can also submit photos like progress pics. I'm not going to show you those. Maybe one day when the body is transformed, I'll show you the progress pics, but I'm working.
Well, I'm going to the gym twice a week. I really want to transform my body as well back to where it was 5 years ago. So it's interesting. I don't know this application. I mainly rely on the activity apps that Apple provides already. I'm using VidThings, as I said, and I have some apps that I downloaded to understand different training sets. But I certainly will have a look at this app as well.
With a chap called Dan Go, who is my fitness coach, who sort of remotely programs my workouts. So for example, this is body recomp workout A. We've got body recomp workout B, which is leg day, which is what I did yesterday. And we've got body recomp workout C, which is, I guess, chest and stuff. So that's if you're working with a remote personal trainer. But actually, the app that I would recommend if you are working on your own is Strong. Now, Strong was how I was tracking my workouts since way before I started working with Dan. And Strong is really nice because you can program your own workouts into it, or you can just add exercises during your session and it'll show you what you did previously. And so you can
That's interesting. I will check this out for sure.
apply the principles of progressive overload because you can see what you did previously, and then you can try and either increase the weight or increase the reps in a very simple way of getting progressive overload into your routine. Then there's just random work stuff, and then usually we'll get to the end of the day, and usually at the end of the day, I'll go out for a meal with friends or with business associates or something like that. Now, either I'll walk if I want to get my steps in, or I'll take an Uber or I'll take the train. And I've sort of made it a bit of a rule for myself that whenever I'm in a cab or on public transport in any capacity, I will just bust out my iPad and do some journaling. And I do that in the app Day One, which again, I've been using for absolutely years now. I think I've been
There we go. I mentioned it in the very beginning already. He's using Day One as well, probably for the same reason.
using Day One since 2016. And so it's really nice because I can see 7 years worth of journal entries into Day One. And so I just type, that's where I journal thoughts, feelings, ideas about the business, ideas about my life. It's super nice. And then we get to bedtime. And so I've got an Amazon Echo in my room where I played relaxing yoga and meditation music as a way of helping me kind of wind down for the evening. Sometimes I'll do some stretches before bed.
Well, there was a Kindle. I don't know if you will mention it, but I'm having a Kindle as well. It is much better for the eyes reading the books there. And with the integration of Readwise, it's perfect then to lay in bed and be safe and sound that the notes actually end up where they belong to without getting up, going to the computer, or writing in a separate tool or whatever.
I have very tight hip flexors, very tight hips, and very tight hamstrings, and very tight neck as well, apparently, according to a physio I recently saw. And so I've got my Lululemon yoga mat that's just there in the bedroom, and it's out at all times, because again, it's all about reducing the friction for these things that I want to do. And then the last thing I usually do before bed is I set my alarm on my phone, and then I will read on my Kindle. So that was a whistle-stop tour through all of the productivity tech and tools that I have in my arsenal. But if you're interested in a deeper dive into how specifically I use these different apps, then you can check out this video over here, which is all about the 12 different apps that help me run a multi-million-dollar business. And in that, I've got lots of screen shares, and I'll show you specifically how to use each one so that hopefully you can get some ideas of ways that you can incorporate them into your life. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. So over the last
Well, I really like this, to be honest, and there was a lot of overlaps, right? The things that I use and that Ali uses. It seems he really knows what tool to use for what, and he tells it, right? 137 productivity tools. So he tested a lot to get to this point, and I tested a lot to get to the point as well, what I'm using right now. It's all about this journey, but key for all of us is to understand the tool agnostic approach. Once you understand your daily processes, the work that you need to do, the information you need to collect, then you better understand what tools will fit your specific needs. That's why it's hard always to recommend, well, use this note-taking app and use this app for this, without knowing what you actually do on a daily basis. That's why I really like this breakdown of one day end to end to really understand in what context he uses what tools. Really amazing. I also like the video that showed up in the end. So if you like me to react to more videos like this, let me know in the comments below. If you're using any other tools or have some different opinions on these, also go to the comments and let us know. And I'll catch you up on the next one.